Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology Update for May 15th through 22nd, 2023. Well, today is the day that Mercury turns direct. Very powerful at the time of all of such an astrological story playing out, telling us that we are indeed coming to the end of the old and the beginning of the new. But there's some overlapping and confusion. So let's just talk this through. We're still feeling that Scorpio lunar eclipse. Indeed, we're still in eclipse season until the following lunation after the last eclipse. And we're coming up on a new moon, the Taurus new moon, on Friday, May 19th. So remember, we had 2 Aries new moons, and the new moons were happening at the very beginning of the signs. Now we've switched, so the new moons are at the very end of the signs. More messages around endings and beginnings. So this Taurus new moon is completing this eclipse cycle, and kind of shoring up, telling us about the energy of the next 6 months. And wow, we are really in it. We're in a massive shift. We're at this place where there's no turning back as we shift into the new age. This is all about Pluto poised at 0 degrees Aquarius, been hanging out here for the last couple of months, but now on the 2nd of May, Pluto turned retrograde. And so Pluto will be heading back in to the end degrees of Capricorn. And right when Pluto gets into the end degrees of Capricorn, Pluto will be in a square with the nodes of the moon, just as they shift signs to 29 degrees Aries of the north node, 29 degrees Libra for the south node. So very powerful energies of being at this 0 point, being at the place in between. It's like we're suspended in between timelines and we're waiting to see if the ground appears below us so we can land. And I think that's the whole point of this Mercury retrograde. It's been a little bit different retrograde for supernova souls because Taurus is a fixed earth sign. We're also completing the time of the nodes in Taurus. The nodes moved into Taurus, the North Node Taurus, South Node Scorpio, back in January 2022. So that was the beginning of this chapter. And then on July 13th of this year, the nodes will shift over into Aries and Libra, and we'll be talking more about that. But just as they shift in this intense square with Pluto, having made it to Aquarius, but then retrograding back into those end degrees of Aries. So Pluto and square to the nodes of the moon, especially at this time of this shift, because the nodes are about, the north node is about how are we going to get to where we're going? It's our path forward. South node, what's holding us back karmically from the past. So when the nodes of the moon are involved, it's always about our direction, a change of direction, what's keeping us from moving, and how do we orient towards the new. And it feels like this Mercury retrograde in Taurus has been about highlighting the issues, like kind of, did you get the message of the North Node in Taurus? And if the North Node is, how are we going to get to where we're going? Then the North Node in Taurus has been about, how are you going to figure out how to deserve the abundance of who you are? We are indeed in a place of excavation with this fixed earth and Mercury going backwards like a backhoe, like going back to dig in to the earth of the past. You know, in that Scorpio lunar eclipse, just a huge bloom of the South Node in Scorpio. So South Node, what's holding us back from the past? Something hidden. So we've been excavating, we've been digging deeper. It's all about figuring out what is keeping us from knowing who we are and our true energetic wealth as advanced souls and standing up and owning it. So the message in the astrology right now is that here we are at 0 degrees. We're poised. We're not quite ready to tip over into the new, but we can't go back to the old. And we're like 0 point and still point. And it's like, okay, there's peace there, but it's also like um, uncomfortable feelings of just like it's a place where all of our fears can come up and all of what's been hidden in the darkness. Indeed, well, Pluto is a ruler of Scorpio. And so Pluto is about our, it's an awareness, becoming aware of our psychic power, our intuitive power, but also how we've been controlled in our intuitive power and what's held us back from owning that power and fear of that power because it's like unknown. So this is really interesting because Pluto has this energy. It's like they say it's small, it's not even really a planet, but it has this massive, huge energy that dictates the cycles of our reality. And yet it's something mysterious. So it's way out there and yet affects us a ton. And maybe this twist of fate, this Pluto square the nodes, is all about us kind of coming into the bigger picture of what Pluto is really about. There's this feeling of, with now Pluto will be in square to the nodes exact in July and August, and pretty much this will be the peak of this energy. And it's this kind of destiny and a fated destiny is the energy of this. Like there is no stopping this. Now, with Pluto having made it to 0 degrees Aquarius, which is a whole new, representing a whole new era, whole new age, but then turning around into this square, it's like, this is what's keeping us from moving into the Aquarian age. And we're sitting here at the edge, but we can't go back and we can't go forward because we're scared, because we don't feel like we deserve it. Now, the fact that we are struggling with our ability to receive our own abundance and receive the new that's coming actually validates that it is coming. I think supernova souls are having a shift since this eclipse of kind of like little tiny cracks in the everyday matrix reality, kind of being like recognizing, acknowledging your dream, the dream you came in with in your coded dream in your DNA, the picture, the image of what Earth wants to become in this evolution, and you being a part of it from the beginning. And it's time to get on with the story, except for that we got so knocked off our timelines, and there's so much that needs to be rearranged and sorted out before we can really tip into the new age. And this is everything the astrology is saying to us. So today, Mercury turns direct at 5 degrees. Now, Saturn is at 6 degrees of Pisces, and Mercury is in Taurus. Now, this Pisces is like the end of the zodiac. Taurus is moving into the new chapter, the new form. Like Aries is the spark of life, the new beginning, and then Taurus is about coming into form, filling it out, and having what we need to grow and thrive. So this sextile between Pisces and Taurus is really important. It's a foreshadowing. We've been having this sextile quite a bit, different planets playing this out. And because Saturn and Jupiter, the major big generational planets that come together in a conjunction every 20 years, and they came together in a conjunction there in 2020. And now we're moving into the next phase of their cycle, which is a sextile. So the next way that they meet. And so Jupiter is just about to move into Taurus and Saturn is in Pisces. So this sextile that they'll be making is really, really important. And it's between the manifest laws and rules of the Piscean, or the energy of Pisces, which has no laws and rules. It's like building a new reality and examining the delusions that our current reality is based on, but also opening up to the mystical, magical revelation that we left behind under the trauma of the Piscean age. And then Taurus, we've been talking about, has this energy of owning our abundance, feeling worthy, coming into our wealth. And Jupiter, so Jupiter's getting ready. This is huge. Jupiter's moving in. Jupiter made it to 29 degrees just a couple days ago on the 13th. Oh, this is intense, Jupiter, because it's like for supernova souls, this Aries energy of this last few months. And it really started last year at this time. Last May, Jupiter moved into Aries, but then retrograded back into Pisces and then moved back into Aries at the right on the solstice of last December. And so very powerful start to the new year. And it was just this, it's just been this huge bloom of the Aries energy and very uncomfortable for supernova souls, because supernova souls have often not been able to own their wealth or own their power and own their freedom. And Jupiter wants freedom. I mean, Aries wants freedom more than anything, you know? And so Jupiter in Aries is always, Jupiter always brings an expansive energy. And it's just this fight for real, true freedom to take back our energy from everywhere we've given it away. And this incredible desire to get back hooked up with source and creation energy. And I have to say, supernova souls, you've made great strides in this. We had really got pushed. It's like we're being pushed out of the nest right now. We're actually in the free fall place. We're just about to get pushed out of the nest. But so this Jupiter now at 29 degrees Aries is bringing a huge bloom of the Aries energy. And this feeling coming up again of just unrest and desire to uh, take back your power from wherever you've given it away and live your life your way and take what's yours, take your energy back. It's really good. It's like there's definitely a side of Aries that can be very selfish, but supernova souls have needed this energy to claim what's theirs. This has been the message all along. We can't tip over into the Aquarian age while we are carrying loyalties, still holding on to loyalty agreements and contracts to lower energies, because it's like we're leaking out our power. So we have to contain it. And so a lot of the last period of time for supernova souls has been showing you where you're still not contained. And it's like, oh my gosh, difficult to look at how far we've gone down the road of putting others before ourselves and sacrificing our precious creation energy because of distortions. Now, this is a rewriting of the story with Saturn in Pisces. We're rewriting the themes and stories of the Piscean age. There was a lot of distortions with the Christ mystery and distortions in the mythology that came with that we are here as light workers to, first of all, be persecuted, martyr, sacrifice, and we've ended up with literally allowing ourselves to be blood dry, be sucked dry, just, and now we're like, the whole Aries thing was about showing us where we've been leaking it out, where we were unconscious to the fact that we were leaking it out, where we may have been leaking it out because we are scared of our own power. We're scared of that containment. Can we handle it? And this is all of the energies of this. So we've got that huge Aries bloom, desire for freedom and autonomy, but then this Taurus Scorpio bloom around what's hiding in the shadows that's keeping us from feeling worthy. Because we are getting a glimpse of this abundance that's coming. And what if the only thing that's keeping us from that life is whether or not we can allow ourselves to have it? And this new world is waiting on us. Is powerful. And a lot of these themes will be coming up with the new moon Friday, May 19th. So look out for that activation, where this new moon is happening at 28 degrees Taurus, 25 minutes. So the very end of the sign. And again, speaking to completions. Now, the nodes of the moon are so activated because of Pluto coming into square with the nodes of the moon. And so it's a very interesting energy because Jupiter is now, so coming to this bloom at 29 degrees Aries, but coming into square with Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. So Pluto is coming into square with the nodes. Mars is going to square the nodes. That won't happen until next week, coming to the end of May. But so this Pluto the Jupiter square Pluto, Jupiter moving into Taurus and square to Pluto in Aquarius at 0 degrees, is triggering the energy of Pluto square the nodes. And so it's starting. It's starting now. And everything that's playing out in astrology is about this twist of fate, this change of direction, this like inescapable adjustment that needs to be made, a reconciliation. What is that in our personal life? And what is that in our relationship to the greater whole? We're going to be figuring this out. So what's going on is that Jupiter, we're already feeling Jupiter now at 29 degrees, just 1 degree out from a square with Pluto. And that square with Pluto will last through the 21st, and then continue. We'll feel that all the way into the first week of June. But it peaks out from the 17th to the 21st is when it's exact, leading right up to the 21st, which is when the sun moves over into Gemini. So we've got all of these energy switching signs. Mars switches over to Leo on that same day, the 21st. So Jupiter's coming into this square. Jupiter about to move into Taurus, coming into this square with Pluto, is triggering this whole next 3, 4, 5 months of astrology. It's kind of like, all right, we're stepping into a new chapter, and that's interesting because Mercury's now direct. We're coming out of eclipse season. We'll officially be out of eclipse season at that new moon in Taurus on this Friday, May 19th. And Mercury, though, will still be in retrograde shadow until June 1st. So this gives us a timeline of the rest of May, super intense with squares and destiny energy, speaking to the next 5 months of astrology and speaking to 0 point, speaking to being stuck at the edge because all these squares happen at 0 degrees. So Mars moving into Leo on the 21st will put Mars in square to opposite of Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius, and in square to Jupiter at 0 degrees Taurus. So incredibly powerful fixed T-square. And at 0 degrees. So it's like, yeah, it's a new beginning. Oh, no, you don't. It's like, okay, here you go. Here's a new beginning. Oh, no, you don't. It's like push pull, and especially that it's so wild that this square of Jupiter square Pluto is coming into form just as Mercury turns direct, right? So Mercury's turning direct. It's like, oh, okay, time to get going in a new direction, time to get out of the sludge of the past, right? With all of this eclipse season and South Node Scorpio triggering. And then the square says, oh, no, you don't. So let's look at the square because Jupiter's so excited. Jupiter always brings an energy of expansion and possibilities. And so Jupiter moving into Taurus is like a whole new chapter. It's like, yes, okay, let's go. And Jupiter brings luck, and it's generally always positive, right? It can be too much is the way it's negative. And so Jupiter wants to expand like a crystal, whatever it comes into contact with. So in Taurus, it wants to expand our abundance. It wants to expand our wealth. It's everything we've been working on. And Jupiter's saying, yeah, go, like Cinderella, go take off those rags and step into your gown, go, it's time. That's what this, so that's what this next whole year, because Jupiter is going to not is last year Jupiter went to Aries, retrograded back into Pisces, and so we had a kind of a split energy. But this year Jupiter makes it far enough into Taurus, is not going to retrograde back into Aries, so it's just going to stay in Taurus this whole year. And so it's like, yep, it's time to step into that silver slipper, and claim it as your own. So, but we also have this energy just as Jupiter comes into that new possibility, and Jupiter's kind of excited to get out of Aries. It's been hot and dry and intense, you know. And now Jupiter's like, Earth, um, and this possibility of expanding into this abundance on multiple levels. And yet, boom, right into a square with Pluto. And Pluto is like, I'm on my way back to Capricorn. Got some shit to figure out. And it has everything to do with where we gave our power away. Because Capricorn is about structures of authority. And Pluto, we're talking about our fear of our own power, our own psychic power, our intuitive power. And so it's like where we agreed to outside authorities not to come into our intuitive power. It's that's in a nutshell, the whole scenario of supernova souls. And this astrology is saying the twist of fate that's coming. It's like you cannot avoid this. Cannot move forward, cannot have your evolution, cannot go to the Aquarian age unless you own your power, unless you know you're worthy, unless you stand up and take it back. So let's examine this because Jupiter is like now wanting us to step into that abundance of the possibilities and for Earth, possibilities for Earth and an Earth sign, fixed Earth sign, a new direction for our planet, and then square Pluto retrograde. And it's almost like Pluto made it to 0 degrees, but he's like jealous, that he has to go back. And he's kind of like, so it's our abundance, our stepping into our abundance and wealth is being interfered with because of our fear of our own power and where we agreed not to come into it. I mean, right? So we've been having this so much because of that South Node Scorpio. It was that dredging up, this excavation. And now we're kind of, the place that we're at, it's like, all right, 0 point. It's not one. It's not the old. It's not the new. It's not the old. It's the fool. It's that feeling of being suspended in between. And all of this astrology is speaking to it because first, right now, we're, Jupiter square Pluto, and Jupiter moves into that 0 degrees Taurus on the 17th. And then from the 17th to the 21st, they'll be exactly square at 0 degrees. Then on the 21st, Mars and the Sun switch signs. Mars moves into Leo, the Sun moves into Gemini. Those are sextile to each other. So Mars and the Sun moving together over the 0 point, 60 degrees apart in a very harmonious situation. And the Sun is the ruler of Leo, right? And Mars is our warrior. Mars is the ruler of Aries, fire sign, go, action, let's do it. And we've got Mars, our warrior, in the sign of Leo, fire sign, but about our expression, our creative expression, our expression of joy and love and connection, and family. And so Mars is ready to go. And again, it's like, but Mars is going to be in exact opposition with Capricorn. I mean, with Pluto getting ready to move back into Capricorn, but still at 0 degrees Aquarius. So it's like we're in this zigzag, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then we got to shift a little bit to this side. And, and yet we've got this fixed T-square. Okay. So Mars moving into Leo, opposite of Pluto and Aquarius, in exact square Jupiter at 0 degrees Taurus. And so Mars coming into the mix. Now, these are powerful planets, When Mars comes into square with anything, it's called a malefic, right? It's like a bad planet. It has a bad influence, but this is a little bit of a misinterpretation. But it always brings an intensity. It brings a war. It brings a battle, And in this case, it's going up against Pluto. So it's saying, we're ready to shine. And Pluto's saying, oh, no, you're not, because you're not containing your energy. And you're scared of your own power. But Mars and Leo and the Sun moving into Gemini, That's that sextile. And it's like a perfect combination of harmonizing. So when you see someone who's like in if you look at the birth charts of people who are really moving and evolving, the energies in their birth chart, you're going to have some squares that push us into change, and also the harmonizing factors of the sextiles and trines. So this configuration, we've got a T square, a fixed T square, 0 degrees, Mars opposite Pluto. And Pluto is a big generational change maker, and Mars is the everyday warrior. And it's just, there's just so much tension there. But then a T square with Jupiter, who always brings more and possibilities. So it's saying all of this is solved by stepping into our true wealth. And then with the sun, though, moving into Gemini and that sweet sextile. So this happens on the 21st. The sun moves into Gemini and Mars that same day moves into Leo. So as they're moving into these signs, 0 degrees sextile. So this is harmonized. Sextiles are like creative solutions, jimmying the lock. And so this astrology has a perfect combination, because if it was just Mars opposite Pluto, it's just really difficult energy. But Jupiter in T square says it's about a breakthrough. So we have a really intense, frustrating energies, same story of where we've been held back from external forces, and where we're taking back our power, but then breakthrough. And the energy of this is saying supernova souls, this breakthrough that's coming, the possibility of this, the opportunity, you have been working on this for so long. Like you have no idea. And you're about to break through, like to a whole new reality where all those old stories can't even, just have no bearing on your reality. So keep that in mind as we go through this intense time. And so the sextile, Sun is the ruler of Leo in Gemini, and Mars in Leo. And Mars is the ruler of Aries, a fire sign. So it's like this mutual reciprocity, this support. And the Sun in Gemini is about expressing the, communicating through vibration, the expressions of the heart and soul. And so the sun is saying it's time to speak our truth. It's time for the song of creation, the truth of our true abundance, of what really matters and what really rules our world, to live again. And this is the earth is awakening on a level, nature, and we are awakening into this understanding that we must have in order to move forward. And maybe this is the completion of this Taurus energy over this next year, is all of this is about coming back into connection with her, with our living, breathing goddess, with nature, with God, creation, living in that union. That's really interesting, because we've gotten this connection and this message around, when you do break your contracts with authorities, then you automatically, with all authority contracts, you automatically come back into the fold of the abundance, the possibilities of who you are, and cared for and loved and held. This is our birthright. And this is exactly the Taurus energy. How do we get back to this birthright of being loved and cared for? But that energy, this law of the universe, is saying that as humanity stands up and claims their autonomy from the control forces, and supernova souls break their authority contracts where they've agreed not to come in to their higher power, as we sort all this out, it's really about coming back into this incredible connection of like a interconnected organism, feeling like you're a part of an interconnected organism, and coming back into this oneness, moving so far out, kind of like, it's almost like these squares, the tension is just like pushing through that breakthrough, going around the corner, through the narrow place, through the birth canal, boom, out to the other side. Maybe punching through the kundalini energy where we have been blocked from our own abundance in our electric body, and our in the power of the life force moving through our body. Massive breakthroughs available here as we claim this freedom and autonomy. So it's really sweet that we've got this sextile between Sun and Mars, kind of being like, all right, yeah, we're coming to the end of the road of how we can do it anymore. And it's just up against the same old stories. But the power is here to break through and the support. And it's all about coming back into the voice of creation, of the goddess, of the great mother being heard again. And are we bringing that voice as we come back into interconnectedness? We are preparing for a new renaissance. And these messages, the music, the song, the dance, the art, the architecture, the form, we're coming back into this beautiful interconnected union. And maybe this breakthrough pushing us into a higher level of consciousness we've been dancing at the edge of. But it feels like that shift, this breakthrough, is kind of about establishing in a place outside of duality consciousness. Completely different way, completely different level of existence. And that everything else is there, but you're here. And it's been hard to even attain that. But now it's about mastering and anchoring in this new and different possibilities. So all of this astrology is about that. And it's really interesting because, like I said, when you have this combination of difficult transits and helpful transits, it's like total miracles can happen. And we've got all of the major transits. We have an opposition between Mars and Pluto, and that's really intense. And it's like, but oppositions are like coming opposite. But when they're exactly opposite, there's like this mutual receptivity, this ability to see the other side, and a very powerful thing happening there. And that's interesting because Mars is associated with our lower power, our ego power, or our physical power, being able to move energy on a physical level. And Pluto is moving energy on a psychic level. And they're opposite each other at that 0-degree marker. Now we also have the square. And the squares are the most intense tension because it's 90 degrees. You can't keep going. You're stuck and you've got to face it. But the square, the T square with Mars and Pluto and then Jupiter and Taurus, Jupiter brings breakthrough. Jupiter brings possibility. So the square, the most tension aspect with these big player planets, is actually saying, come on, we can do this. Come on, get over it. Let's just go have fun, you know? And so very dynamic. Now, at the same time, the major positive transits are trines, which are in the same element. Those are six with coming into of the all of the elements of the same sign, and we have a trine between the sun moving into Gemini at 0 degrees and Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is really freaking intense, you guys. But hold on, there's a bigger picture here. And it's air. It's like, listen to the messages in the breeze and the wind, you know? Let the winds blow in new direction, blow you in new directions. Let's lighten up the energy and see from a bigger perspective what it is we're doing here. We're learning to sing and dance in connection again. So we've got that very powerful T-square, but also sextile and very harmonious energy of an air trine. The possibilities. So it's a very powerful energy of being in that place of receiving intuitive messages, sharing intuitive messages, hearing the song and translating it, sharing it with the world. So this is what we're doing And so very powerful time. And we're heading into these squares, but we also have the positive transits. But this is going to last through the end of May. We're just in it. Now, it's really important though, because once we get through the square energy, which pretty much resolves on the 1st of June, on the 1st of June is when Mercury comes out of retrograde shadow. So it's like everything from eclipse season and Mercury retrograde and the last 6 months of retrograde energies with that Mars retrograde, all of it is just stewing and brewing inside of us. What are we going to do with it? Where are we going to go with it? Are we just going to stay in this place of like, can't go back, can't go forward forever? And so it's really powerful because just as these energies lift off around the 1st, Mars is in a square, will be in square with the nodes. So this T square comes off and then Mars comes right into a square with the nodes of the moon. Mars now will in Leo and square with the nodes. So it's saying the warrior who's ready to shine, who's ready to express, who's ready to bring the fire, who's like ready to get on with it. And square to the nodes of the moon, and they're coming to the end of these signs, right? And it's kind of saying, all right, so what's this time with the nodes, North Node Taurus, South Node Scorpio, been about? And Mars and Leo saying it's about figuring out what's keeping us from shining our light and being who we are, and just simply expressing ourselves as the truth of who we are. Is it's that hard, you know? It is that hard, but it's a very simple concept, you know? So this is everything that this is about. Now, when Jupiter then, now that comes off, Mars square the nodes also comes off on the, starts to resolve on the June 1st. So that the beginning of June, it's a whole different energy. So it's like we're in this massive squeeze, possibility, opportunity, breakthrough. And then June has very positive, powerful. We're feeling Pluto square the nodes, but there's incredibly powerful energies with Saturn coming in, Saturn and Jupiter coming into that sextile relationship of possibilities. And so just know that we're in an intense squeeze of preparation for that abundance that wants to come, and be present with it, make the most of it. Really starting with now with Mercury direct, then in a couple days, Jupiter, Taurus, square Pluto. A couple days after that, on the 19th, we got the new moon. And then we're just going to be in that square 0 point, can't go forward, can't go back. But it's kind of like we're in this place of almost like, imagine coming in for a landing and you can't really see the ground. It's like under the clouds. Is it even there? Is there a ground? And then it's kind of like, okay, all right, all right, all right. So it's powerful messages for supernovas. So are we landing home, our bigger self? We've been talking about this. Is this the landing? And yet it's also the takeoff, because this 0 degrees poised at the edge of the new age and facing our fears and where we've given our power away and just being in the energy of anxiety and fear programming that comes out of nowhere. It's just deep subconscious. And it's like being pushed out of the nest, feeling of like waiting to be pushed out of the nest, but you can't even see the ground and you don't even know whether you have wings or if they're ready to fly. So this is this feeling of where we're at, and can we be at that still point, and just be there. And so that's kind of the energy after this new moon, when the sun, it'll be at 28 degrees, and the sun's coming to end of Taurus. And so we'll have this big bloom of energy. Jupiter's has just moved into Taurus. So we're going to have the sun at the very end of Taurus and the moon at the end of Taurus and Jupiter at the very beginning of Taurus, bookends saying, this is it. This is it. You got one more year to figure this out if you're worthy or not. Because the train is leaving from the station. Are you on? And but then at the very end of the month, on the 31st and the 1st of June, Jupiter then comes into a conjunction. So all the squares resolve. And then Jupiter comes into a conjunction with the North Node. And that's a very powerful marker, because it's like we've had this tension, this breakthrough, and now, all right, kind of a magnetic Mercury is now direct. Mercury just got out of retrograde shadow, just coming out of retrograde shadow. And now we're going to redirect. So it's like that Jupiter North Node conjunction right when Mercury comes out of shadow. And so it's like, all right, here we go. And just look for this. Be open. Make room in your life to feel into intuitively. It's this Year of the Water Rabbit. We're learning a whole different way to create in the world through this intuitive moving with the energies, co-creating, listening, waiting, pausing, reading, moving at the right time, waiting at the right time, and waiting for the universe to react to your moves before just pushing forward in our more egotistical type of way, or the way we have in the past. It's a whole different way of creating. And so we are kind of suspended in this place. And can we be at 0 point? Can we be at still point? Can we be comfortable there? Can we be the fool about to be pushed from the nest, but he's happy and carefree because he trusts? And so all of this is about us coming back into trust. And first we have to trust ourselves not to betray us anymore. This is the whole blue moon Aries, Pluto heading back into Capricorn. Where have we transgressed against ourself and our true self? Where have we gone along with the program in order to survive? Where have we gotten so far off of our true spiritual path? And maybe this is the shame. We all have hidden, deep, profound program shame. It's just part of being human, but especially supernova souls, because we've been programmed and through plays of events that we've been manipulated into thinking that, like, say, the Atlantic catastrophes were our fault, that we caused them, and things like that. But what if the shame, the deep shame that's really keeping us from owning our wealth and feeling worthy, is like this: how far we've gotten off our true nature and how far we went from God? And can he and she bring us back into the fold? Do we deserve it? It's a deep humbling, a feeling of like kind of repentance as changing a direction, a change of direction, an adjustment. It's a humbling of like, and then where we got so far connected, and then we thought we were responsible, so then we thought we were in charge, and then we got really stuck into all kinds of sticky karmic situations. And we have to understand that in this evolution, it's not until this life that we've really had the opportunity to undo a lot of this difficult karma. So it's been very busy and very intense. But now we're coming to a place of the opportunity with this breakthrough is this magnetic alignment with the next thing you need to do and who you really are through the beautiful walk through this natural world in union and communion, in co-creation. And wow, look at this, that creation is building, and how can I be a part of the world that's being built? We've been building it. But it's like, it's a whole shift in our direction of the way we're moving and our whole conceptual reality. And that kind of feels like what's going on where they're, kind of in the top of the tree, swaying the edge of the nest, getting ready to fall or fly or plunge to our death, feels like. And the only thing we're waiting on is for the ground of this new dimensional reality to come into perspective and to feel worthy of that landing in a new reality. So incredibly powerful times. Let's stick together through this intense time of breakthrough and possibility and intensity and fate and destiny. And so know that this T-square between Pluto, Mars, and Jupiter is the beginning and the precursor and ushering in the next 3, 4, 5 months of Pluto square the nodes. So we're in it, and we're getting a very powerful picture. And yet it's kind of like, this is what it looks like from the edge, from here. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like when we make the move over, but we know that we've got to clean up our act and come back into righteousness within ourselves, come back into loving ourselves, even though we went so far away from our truth and from creation and source. We are a fractal of this. We have to come back into this interconnectedness, which means our ego doesn't get to run the show anymore. So all of this, again, just like so much astrology over the past couple of years, a lot of ego death opportunity. Oh, golly. And yet the sun in Gemini sextile to Mars and Leo is like, yeah, but that's not who you are. Yeah, all of this, what we thought and where we thought we were going, and what we thought we were doing, and who we thought we were going to be with, all going away. Because it's not who you are. You've been living a lie. And so maybe the Scorpio South Node activation from that eclipse is like, what's underneath the lie? What's underneath the surface level? Gotta just get through this experience. We can't do it anymore. That's what this whole period of time has been about. So it's like the Jupiter in Aries. It's like, no, partially, halfway, half dead, going through the motions is not going to work for me anymore. No. And that commitment, this is what we're having the opportunity to do, is this commitment to life and living in truth, which is the only way we can do that is on our full expression, right? And that maybe that's why we're teetering on the edge here, because it's like we can't do it part way. We got to jump fully in. We got to be really who we are. We can't, oh, well, in this situation, I can be who I am, but in this situation, I have to pretend I'm something different, because it just gets them all upset. It's like, who the F cares? It's time to get a little bit upset. It's time to get a little bit excited. It's time to rattle the cage and break through the firmament and ice wall or whatever it is that keep us quarantined in this lower dimensional duality consciousness when we're so much more. It's time to move on and get the story going, but we are kind of hanging out at the edge. So incredibly powerful times. Let's stay connected, Supernova Souls. I hope you'll consider joining the new moon activation. That's going to be this Friday leading into the exact time. At the exact time is about 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So we're going to do it at 9 a.m. Mountain Time on Friday, May 19th. And that's very powerful to have that a moment together at the exact time of this new moon, the sun and the moon together at that 28-degree Taurus, as we go through this breakthrough experience together and prepare for what's coming. So I hope to see you there, that new moon activation. And thank you so much for your support, for being a part of the Soul Tribe. If you're interested, the Soul Tribe is $10 a month. It gets you Friday updates, videos, and live Q&As once a month, and a lot of resources for Supernova Souls and to connect with Supernova Souls on the website. If you're interested in never missing an activation, the gold membership is for you. That's $20 a month, gets you into the activations as well as the sharing circles after the activations. A great way to come together and be with real life Supernova Souls. And but just know that we're together, and whatever level you're here, just even watching this video, you're bringing your energy, you're being with us, you're part of the tribe, you're part of this incredible field that we've been growing of light and possibilities, so that whatever Supernova Souls, their breakthroughs and their understanding, their insights, because we're so connected and we've had such similar evolutionary patterns. The work that you do is available for all Supernova Souls. So thank you. Thank you for just sticking to it and making it through. We're into it's a weird and strange time of trepidation, but at the same time, it's a whole new chapter that lies ahead. It's not going to be like it was before. And I guess we're taking off those old clothes, taking off those chains. Are you? We maybe got to get used to what it's like without all the garb, of the false energies and where we've given our power away, and kind of get used to and owning and containing that energy. So feels like that's what this is all about. And thank you so much for your support, Supernova Souls, for being with me. I hope to see you at that activation, the next update. Wow. intense times, and especially for us powerful people who have been living so far away or in such a small percentage of what's available. And now it's time to turn on the faucet. And that's what this astrology is telling us. I'm so glad we're here together, Supernova Souls. Thank you for finding me and being present with this work. It means so much to me. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.